How you doing, everybody? It's Wardy here, and we're back at it breaking down the latest of Mets land, and I'm ecstatic to get into this video at the time of recording this right around 9:45 a.m. Eastern here this Friday, because we got some significant news to get into, probably the most significant yet, you can almost argue, on the Pete Alonso front and his willingness to return to the Mets. An emphasis on his willingness to return to the Mets is what we're about to get into, everybody. So let me see your initial reactions, the comments down below. We're going to get into where this reporting actually stems from, how credible it is, and everything in between, folks. But before we do that, thank you so much for smashing those buttons as you come in, as well as hearing from our amazing sponsor at BetUS that has you covered with all your sports betting needs. You guys know the drill by now. Head over to betus.com.pa today for whatever you want to bet on, folks, and make sure you use Wardy's promo code YouTube150. That way you too get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125 on your second and your third for whatever you want to bet on, up to $2,000. And folks, we're hammering the New York Knicks to make sure that they win or don't lose by more than 4 points against the OKC Thunder tonight. This is in the Garden, unlike when they were in OKC the past week where they lost in heartbreaking fashion, absolutely floundered in the fourth that we saw. A lot of calls weren't going their way, and honestly, they just couldn't get the job done. So they're looking to bounce back against the best team in the West and the Thunder, and I hope to see it happen. And as a biased Knicks fan, I'm telling you guys, tail this bet responsibly. Don't tail it if you don't feel comfortable. Just make sure you guys do it, and please know I'm not a diehard expert when it comes to betting. I'm just a diehard fan, however, especially with my Knicks and other teams across not only what we see with our Mets, Knicks, Rangers for hockey, which either makes you happy or upset depending on who you're listening to, what have you. Thank you guys again, as always, for chiming in. We're amazing friends here at BetUS. But folks, now let's get into this one and let's see what we have here, the latest, because first we saw Andy Martino had to have reaffirmed from Scott Boras himself after what was a absolute blunder of a report from Bob Nightingale of USA Today 48 hours plus ago, stating how Scott Boras is seeking that 9-year Prince Fielder contract as a comp. Well, Scott Boras said that that is completely inaccurate after talking to Andy Martino today. John Heyman reaffirmed that yesterday, and it's since been taken out of Nightingale's article. Nightingale took a quote that he had wrong, actually, in which he was in a conversation with Scott Boras over a podcast or something along those lines over the past couple days, in which he just did not have it typed out properly. It was blown up by people, including myself, saying, hey, what do you mean Boras and Alonso are seeking this 9-year deal as a comp? That doesn't make any sense. And now fast forward a couple days later, we have this news, which is far more significant than the one beside me. And that is the following from Jim Duquette here, everybody. Former Mets GM there, and obviously an analyst for SNY, states the following. According to league sources, Pete Alonso's camp has offered the Mets a 3-year deal with opt-outs. The deal is only available to the Mets right now. No deal known to be close at the moment, and Alonso's agent Scott Boras declined a comment, and we'll have more later on for MLB Network Radio. And should there be any key tidbits from that as well, I will relate to that to each and every one of you later on this evening in a second video or live stream, depending on what the content schedule is going to be today. But that's fantastic news right there, everybody, on the Alonso front. For all my people that say, I'm done with Alonso, he's an absolute bum, he wants 9 years, I want nothing to do with him. Well, let me tell you guys, that is one, not true, and secondly, Alonso wants to return. That has been the common consensus from the start, that there's been mutual interest between the Mets and Alonso to rekindle this relationship, not only after what was an underwhelming regular season in 2024 for Alonso, but a blossom as much as he did in postseason play with the backs against the wall. Devin Williams, the rest is history. Alonso's already cemented himself greatly in Mets history as one of our best power sluggers, homegrown talents in the franchise's history over the past 60 plus years of existence. But as we now look at where they currently stand and their future outlook, for Alonso, knowing very well that the market is not in his favor, which we all know to this point, that's why the common belief has been, okay, the Mets are going to offer right around a 3-year, $90 million deal with some opt-outs. Well, the best part of it all is that it appears that Pete Alonso's rolled out the red carpet to do exactly that for him. He's like, don't worry, I'm going to present it to you. I'll offer a 3-year contract to you guys. I'm only going to offer it to you. I'm not offering any other team the ability to sign me for anything less than 3 years, right? It's going to be right around what we're looking at, probably 3+ years for any other team if he's going to consider them. But Alonso obviously wants to come back to the Mets here. The Mets would love to bring back Alonso, and they want to do it at their terms. And it appears that things are certainly trending in that direction. After Alonso was initially seeking at least 6+ years, reportedly per John Heyman as of yesterday, things have definitely changed drastically over the past day, and for good reason. When you don't have the market in your favor, you know that you can go right back to a win-now team that understands you better than any other organization. Let's be frank, is there a team right now that can offer Alonso a similar contract? Well, he will necessarily thrive more in their lap than the Mets. It's hard to envision that, as he will have a lot of adjustments in a 1-year situation, essentially, where then he will potentially opt out again and bank on himself for a longer term deal a year from now. So if Alonso goes anywhere outside of Queens, he's already having himself a great problem in getting acclimated and getting adjusted with a new team when that might be a one and done when he's banking on himself. And honestly, if Alonso knows anything on banking on himself throughout the regular season with expectations as a Scott Boras client, then he knows very well as to what to expect. And honestly, we could probably see another underwhelming year from him if he doesn't handle that pressure well, especially in a separate organization. But with the Mets on a 3-year contract with an opt-out after the first and or second seasons, that makes endless sense for both sides. Hopefully it's right around that 3-year, $90 million proposal that we've seen thrown out there over the past couple weeks. But should this come to fruition, this gives the Mets now not only plenty of control, but so is the case with Alonso. He enters back in this Mets line, batting right behind Juan Soto for probably the entire year, right, with Lindor ahead of him as well, and Brandon Nimmo potentially among others. You're going to have Alonso in the deepest lineup he's ever been in his young career, which is exciting to say, with the Juan Soto and company. And then if he balls out and has a tremendous year, the best part of it is it's up to him on if he wants to opt out. It's not like he was a slam dunk guarantee to hit the free agent market regardless this past year because he didn't have an opt-out option. No, this will be more so up to him, and I think him having that comfortability, that security of knowing that he can still be at least with the Mets for beyond a year here is something that will help him transition and to be more comfortable for the 2025 season versus what we saw this past year throughout the 162. So for Pete Alonso and for the Mets, this has been a foregone conclusion from the start. This has felt inevitable as we reported on the channel over the past couple weeks, and we will continue to talk about the Alonso sweepstakes until he makes his inevitable decision. But as everything is pointing towards right now, a 3-year deal with multiple opt-outs potentially looks like it's going to be the best for both sides. And for the Mets, the beauty of it all is that one, you get Alonso, hopefully having himself a strong 2025 year batting this lineup with Soto, hopefully having another deep playoff run. Then the best part is that if Alonso does decide to opt out, that's okay, because it's not like the Mets can't bring Alonso back if they don't want, and it also gives them the luxury to then go out of their way to seek Vladimir Guerrero Jr. next offseason, should they have the likely interest to do exactly that. At the young age of what will be 26, Vladdy will be entering the free agent market as a young, coveted player in his position in comparison to Soto, where they're in a class of their own, based on age, value, and what their position is. Yes, there's obviously less of a demand for first baseman when you look at high AV long-term deals, but Guerrero is easily going to change that market next offseason, given his age, given that he's going to get probably anywhere from a $10 to $13+ million contract, and knowing that he's going to sign with a top big market contender, whether that's the Red Sox that would love him, whether that's potentially our Mets, among others. There's going to be a bidding war for Vladdy Guerrero Jr. next offseason, but knowing that the Mets will have a chance to dabble in that without having potentially any restraints with having an Alonso contract for 2026 should he opt out is what makes this such a perfect balance for both sides. So for Pete, I'm excited. Hopefully we can see this transpire and come to fruition. Hopefully I'm not talking to you guys later today, or if not in the coming days, and saying how unfortunately this report is inaccurate by Jim Duquette. It's been refuted by Scott Boras, and that is that. I don't foresee that to be the case, but obviously it's been very Jekyll and Hyde in the accuracy of reporting over the past couple years across Major League Baseball. We just have to hope and pray that this is as legit as it comes. And honestly, if Jim's going out of his way to be on MLB Network Radio right away, right around 10 a.m. sharp, which is minutes after I'm recording this, that tells you all you need to know as to the seriousness, the level of interest, and also, again, the credibility behind it. I think that's something to make note of here. So, Mets fans, let me know your initial reactions to it all in the comments down below. Are you for or against a 3-year deal potentially for Pete Alonso, including opt-outs? I know I'm for it. I want to know if you guys are for it. And ultimately, David Stearns and Steve Cohen, you'd have to imagine that they're for it. They have to be for it. This is exactly in the wheelhouse of what they've been looking for. But the big question is, will they be able to get the job done now? Will this be enough? Will this be the needle mover? Or are there still some more significant steps that need to be had until these negotiations are finally done and can be done for at least the next year? That is the big question that we'll hopefully find out as soon as humanly possible. But until then, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Let us know your continued thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you're chiming in for all consistent content, all things Mets, all off-season and in-season long here on your number one stop for Mets news, rumors, post-game shows, everything in between here at the WardyNYM platform. Check me out later today, folks, as I will be live right around 4 p.m. Eastern in the Bleacher Report app for my daily MLB-wide segment. You guys can check me out there, where I'll be talking more on Anthony Santander and other outfield options available in the market, amongst some other news going on and how it relates to not only the Mets but Major League Baseball as a whole. So check me out there, as well as check out last night's live stream in case you guys haven't already, as I had on Mets Insider doing a tremendous job on the beat for the Mets through The Athletic and Will Salmon. Will, who broke the news that the Mets met with Tanner Scott a couple days ago, he highlighted more on the Mets' pursuit of Scott and other relievers. The latest on Alonso up until this point, naturally, so it's a little outdated now, and everything else. So check that out in case you guys haven't. Thank you guys again, and as always, no matter what, let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.